Shalom. This is an emergency broadcast alert giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushai Bahashem, Rekakadash, in whom we are in great debt. All honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, continue doing so, standing firm in the eyes of Tur, who I learned this truth from. To the elders, the bishops, Akim and Aquab, salutations and blessings to the house of David. We are the hopeful elected GMS. This is your brother Quasiyar with part 3 of Bahrain. And if I didn't mention it before, the reason why I have Dubai River Beach Club Pool and Beach Day Pass is because in Bahrain they have done the same thing that's going on in Dubai. They are making these little fake islands, if you may, around, and they have created these, these hotels and places you can go visit that you can, chill and relax, eat, and just do things like what these people are doing right there on TV. And then it's full of Esau Edomites, Khazars, believe it or not. And these people are at war with each other, but then they still have this going on, right? Who makes this stuff up? So as I was saying, Dubai is really close to Bahrain, okay? It's not that close, but it's in the same sector that all this nonsense is going on, right? With the Straits of Hormuz, they all in the same region and river, if you may, the sea. That part of the Strait of Hormuz, right? Once it turns, it curves that point. That's where it meets. I'll show you later on. In the meantime, let's get back to the video. So, as you can recall, we spoke about this already. What history says: there is no direct archaeological or Persian record, which there is archaeological and Persian records, but ChatGPT can only give you what the masters put down, and sometimes other documents that they miss confirming this event, right? So the event, what event? We'll just go back to Esther, right? That's talking about Esther, okay? And there's plenty. The only thing is that they're not going to give you details of that matter because the people who are there in Israel today cannot give you that documentation, because that would be more proof to that they won't be able to claim any. It would be less. How should I say? It would be more incriminating to them. Okay. Let's go see. It says here. Alright, let's go back to the point. Let's go back here. So, 2. The Persian Empire actually governed. So, under rules like Cyrus the Great and Darius the First, the empire developed a system that was unusually flexible for its time. Key features: religious tolerance. Local religions were generally allowed to continue. Local autonomy. Regions, satrapies kept their own customs and leaders. Infrastructure, roads, taxation systems, and imperial administration unified vast territories. Why? Because they knew, they had an idea who they were dealing with. Remember, you know, the story of what's this woman's name? So it goes back to Hagar, right? So Hagar is the Egyptian handmaid of Sarah and concubine to Abraham, who gave birth to his firstborn son, Ishmael, who is widely considered the ancestor of the Adnani Arabs. The Ishmaelites, descendants of Ishmael, are historically linked to Arab tribes. Hagar's identity: Hagar is recognized in Genesis 16:1 through 16 as an Egyptian slave who was given to Abraham by Sarah to bear a child. All right, so these people, or the Arabs, they regard Hagar, in big standards. In other words, all right, they have this problem. They have this worship, with the women at one point. Yeah, they cover them up today or whatever, etc., etc. But they always had this thing. Let me remind you also that Ishmael had Keturah, right? Although Hagar is the main character here, but yeah, you can I think it's in First Chronicles 1 and verse 32. Let's continue. Let's see here. Where was I? So the famous Cyrus cylinder is often cited as evidence of this policy, describing the restoration of temples and representation of displaced people. For the Israelites, they returned from exile, rebuilt the temple in Jerusalem, lived under Persian rule with relative autonomy. This is why Persia is remembered in Jewish tradition more as a protector than persecutor. Yeah, okay. Bahrain Dilmun, what archaeology shows. Ancient Dilmun, modern Bahrain, has been extremely excavated. Wow, extremely excavated. And you mean to tell me that you have nothing to show for it? Key discoveries: massive burial mounds, tens of thousands. I wonder who, what people. Trade goods linked Mesopotamia, Oman, and the Indus Valley. Administrative seals and inscriptions. Show me the money. During the this name, this what's his name? I'm beginning to hate this guy. Where is that? During the Akimundi period, Aki some guy or whatever. I'm sorry, people, but I have a problem pronouncing this guy's name. Bahrain became part of a Persian-controlled trade network. Bahrain became part of a Persian-controlled trade network from the very beginning of existence of the people till this day. All right? You think it likely serves as a port and logistics hub in the Gulf. Important point. There is no evidence of Israelite community living in Bahrain during this period or any event related to Jewish persecution there. Wait a second. Do you remember what we read before? This is how ChatGPT wants to erase everything you just read and everything that I explained. Don't mind that. This is what we found. This is what you need to listen to. Putting it all together. Yeah, let's see what they put together. Here's the clearest historical picture. Babylonians, not Persians, caused the major Israelite displacement. Well, not according to history, but yeah, they did. The Persians did help a little, but that's not the case. The Persians reversed, or should I say, yeah, the Persians reversed the policy and allow. This is more accurate because they helped and they reversed some of the things that they already had done and allow return and rebuilding. The Esther story reflects tensions and here we go. The Esther story reflects tensions and identity concerns within the Persian Empire, but is debated historically. Yeah, I'm sure. Nevertheless, that's not the point that we're trying to drive here. The point that we're driving here is why the Lord showed me the name of this place and what's been going on throughout history around this place. All right, and by the hands of whom? Which is always, it has been Edomite, so-called white man, and Arabs, the Persians, the Ishmaelites, or should I say, you just call them Arabs, That's it. Let me just do it like that. And for some reason, this place, all this dust going around, it's just stuffing me up. I can't even speak sometimes. Yeah, I was wondering why. This is why I'm always getting sick. All this construction, man. They I don't know, man. Ugh. A more nuanced interpretation is if you zoom out, a deeper theme emerges. a more nuanced interpretation. If you zoom out, a deeper theme emerges. Jewish exile like Esther capture the uncertainty of living as a minority in a vast empire. Persian policy was tolerant overall, but local conflicts or court policies, real or imagined, count still create fear. Bahrain represents the globalized trade world that Persia controlled till this day, showing how interconnected these regions were, even if not directly tied to Israel history. Interconnected. You see where it tells you, it tells you, oh no, we got no proof. We got nothing than that. But then it tells you Bahrain represents the globalized trade world that Persia controlled, showing how interconnected these regions were, even if not directly tied to Israelite history. Even if they're not directly connected to Israelite history, but they're connected. Okay. Let's go on. There's a lot. There's a lot. Lot. If you want, we can go even further. Sure. You know what I ask? Because it tells me, so if you want, we can go further, like comparing Persia with Babylonia and Assyria, or looking at actual archaeological events of Jewish communities across the Persian Empire, like in Egypt or Mesopotamia, and say how long from Cyrus the Great to the captivity of Israel, Salmanasar, right? Salmanasar. Okay, so it says you're comparing. Well, you asked me. You're comparing two very different moments in Near Eastern history, and the timeline gap in actuality quite large. So you see, you asked me, right? But now it's okay. Let's get into it. The two key events: Assyrian conquest under Salmanasar, the captivity of Israel you're referring to is tied to the fall of the northern kingdom of Israel, led by Salmanasar V, and complete under Sargon II. Event fall of Samaria. Date 722 BCE. This results in the exile of many Israelites this results in the exile of many Israelites, the so-called lost tribes. Telling you, can't make this up. Can't make this up. So, moving right along. And my point is, this is the point, right? This region, the thing is going on, right? The historical events, right? The return of Israel. That's the point. And like I said, I might be going here and there, but the main line it started with a name that I've never heard before. So, rise of Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great conquers Babylon. Event: fall of Babylon. Date: 539 BCE. This marks the beginning of Persian rule and the latter return of Jewish exile, mainly from the southern kingdom of Judah, exiled by Babylon. History is repeating itself as we speak. And when I look at my time, it says 1:44. Wow. Wow. And it's on the clock too. I just saw it when I said that. It was on the timer of the video. Wow, when I said that. Yeah. The Lord is always on point, man. Time difference. Time difference from 722 BCE to 539 BCE. That's roughly 180 years. Wow. Importance clarification. These are two separate exiles. Assyrian exile, 722 BCE, affected the northern kingdom, Israel. People largely disappeared from the historical records. What? See, that's how Esau Edom keeps you, in the dark, right? There's certain things that he will not publish. He will have it locked on the coffin key in a basement where no one can go there but his own people, right? Only the ones who he wants these secrets to be let out, because they're in cahoots, And the Catholic Church has numerous. I mean, they stole so many books, so many accounts. As that's what the Crusades were all about: stealing gold and historical documentations, man. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. And it's crazy the way they word it. People largely disappeared from the historical records. Babylon exile 586 BCE affected the southern kingdom. Judah, they are the people Cyrus later allowed to return. So when Cyrus the Great acts, he is not fearing the same group. So let me see, freeing Salakia. So when Cyrus the Great acts, he is not freeing the same group taken by Salmanassar, but a later population exiled by Babylon. Wait a minute, isn't there still Israelites? Oh yeah, well this is what happens. This is what happens, right? Bottom line, Salmanasar's conquest, 722 BCE. Cyrus rise, 539 BCE. Gap 180 years. We understand that. We understand that. And historically, they belong to different empires, different exiles, and different Israelite populations. They are still Israel, going through exile and hatred, going through hell, if you may. Okay? If you want, and I stopped it there because then I went to Second Esdras. And so these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, who Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they unto another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves that they would leave that the multitude of the heathen, right, which they constantly following, This is what they did, right? Because when we got here to America, did you see the accounts? Because there are books that the heathen have that say that this land it was called Azrath, right? But they would not give you that, because if they give you that, they're gonna go, oh, you see, the people are gonna be like, oh, you see, this is we are. Although there are other accounts that have been proven, because there are many other accounts, okay? But since they don't give you that particular name, the 2/3 can't see it. Like, that's their witchcraft, right? The majority of people, just because they don't give you the name. Let me just keep reading. Hold on a second. Right? Let me just go. These are Second Esdras. This is Second Esdras. Second Esdras. Second Esdras. 13 and 40. Okay. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, who Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them out of the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. And what that means is that no one actually populated the land, right? No one actually built their civilization, or not the word of civilization. It's like they never like came here and actually established how should I say, like a population of people that will literally would stay here and live here, because Solomon had people come here, back and forth, to gather animals and stuff, and people did, stay here as a trading post. It was more like a not for you to have your family and kids and generations after that living here. It was mostly men and some women, of course, that would rather they would take the trip, because they would they would do those things. But it was a trade, more of a gathering goods type of thing, until this happened. Once this happened, then the tribes were established here, because the Lord allowed. Let's continue. Where was I? Carried away captives. Read again. These are the 10 tribes which were Second Ezra 13 verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so carry they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go further go forth into a further country where never mankind dwell, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And that too got a little complicated once we were here, because as you can see, when the tribes started splitting up, we started picking up old habits instead of keeping the words of Yahweh Shem Yoshai. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the water, or should I say, held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Azareth. All right, so it took a year and a half to go and come back. That's what Solomon did, but for us, it was only a year and a half to establish this land that we're on today. And what the heathen did came here too, because they found out we were at, because they can't live without us, man. They're not at peace without us. They can't find, although they're never at peace, they're restless, but they find, their peace, extorting us, in other words. And so I couldn't find nothing in etymology, but it says, I did find something, because spiritually, this is spiritually speaking. So Bahrain, island kingdom in the Persian Gulf, from Arabia al Bahrain, or Bahrain, the two seas from dual form of bar, sea, so called in reference to the bodies of water on either side of it. Yeah. Moving right along, and we're gonna go and do our part set in the following part, because this is half an hour. Like I said, we'll move on. We'll come back to the following chapter of this video. Shalom.